Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Richard Clark for Throwback Thursday. Every week I talk about my favourite films, my favourite albums, favourite TV programmes, and just give an introduction to myself. I've been a hypnotherapist for over the last 8 years, and I've also been a holistic therapist for over 14 years. So for Throwback Thursday, I'm going to talk about a series about films by a director and a writer called Wong Kar Wai, and he is from Hong Kong, Chinese, whichever way, again, because that's that debate whether they are, but he is actually from Hong Kong. So anyway, I'm going to talk about 4 of his films, which I think are very important. There's a trilogy of films, a loose trilogy, and the main film which actually got him known in the Western world. So the first film we're going to talk about which got him known in the Western world was Chungking Express. Chungking Express was actually very much pushed into the Cannes Film Festival by Quentin Tarantino, who saw it and thought it was excellent. At the time, when it was actually released in Hong Kong, it actually flopped. So anyway, I'm going to explain what Chungking Express is as a film. Chungking Express is a 1994 Hong Kong art house romantic comedy drama, written and directed by Wong Kar Wai. This film consists of 2 stories told in sequence, each about a lovesick Hong Kong policeman mulling over his relationship with a woman. The first story stars Takeshi Kaneshiro as a cop obsessed by his breakup with a woman named May and his encounter with a mysterious drug smuggler. The second stars Tony Leung as a police officer roused from his gloom over the loss of his flight attendant girlfriend by the attentions of a quirky snack bar worker. Now, Chungking in the title refers to Chungking Mansions in Zimzha, which is in Hong Kong. Now, hopefully I have pronounced these correctly, so please, if you're from China or Hong Kong, I do apologise if my Mandarin or it is really bad. I do apologise. I am English, remember. I'm just going to say it phonetically. Where Wong Kar Wai grew up in the 60s. Express refers to the food stall Midnight Express, located in the Lan Kwai Fong, an area in central Hong Kong. Now, I've been to Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is a very interesting place. It's very it's quite interesting because it had the British part of it. So you've got some of these British influences in a place which is predominantly Chinese or Cantonese. All these ideas are quite interesting, so it's kind of a bounce off, but it's an interesting place. I couldn't live there though because to live there it's very expensive and it's also very congested. It's very it's quite an intense place. However, about the film again, the film premiered in Hong Kong on 14th of July 1994 and received critical acclaim specifically for direction, cinematography and cast performances, and it is now regarded as Wong Kar Wai's finest works and one of the best films of 1994 in the 90s.
终于在一家便利商店，让我找到第30罐的凤梨罐头。就在5月1号的早晨，我开始明白一件事情：在阿妹的心目中，我跟这个凤梨罐头没有什么分别。
And it's now being rated by major sites citing Sound Critics' poll of one of the greatest films of all time. So with this plot, the first plot and the first story is a Hong Kong police officer called He Quing who is dumped by his girlfriend named May on April the 1st. To verify her earnestness is breaking up with him, Kuwu chooses to wait for a month. Every day he buys a tin of pineapples with the expiration date of the 1st of May because May enjoyed pineapples and 1st of May is his birthday. Meanwhile, a woman in a blonde wig tries to survive in the drug underworld after a smuggling operation goes sour. On the 1st of May, Kuwu approaches the woman in the blonde wig at the Bottoms Up Club. However, she is exhausted and falls asleep in his hotel room, leaving him to watch old films and order food.
你有冇事啊？
冇事冇事，俾多俾我。有一首歌叫做《日出时让恋爱终结》，我现在的心情就是这样。怎么样才可以让我忘记阿妹呢？我跟我自己讲， 由这1分钟开始，第一个进来的女人，我就会喜欢她。
小姐，要啲咩飲啊
？Whisky 啦，唔該。
我有预感她一定会喜欢我，可是为了保障我自己，我要问她一个问题。
He shines her shoes before he leaves her sleeping on the bed. She leaves in the morning and shoots the drug baron who set her up. Quirky goes jogging and receives a message from her on his pager wishing him a happy birthday. He visits his usual food store in Chungking Mansions where he collides with a new staff member, Faye. The second story, which is the other part of this, is another police officer called Cop 663. He's also dealing with a breakup with a flight attendant, Faye, and secretly falls for him. And on one day, the flight attendant visits the store and waits for the man. She learns he is on his day off and leaves a letter for him with a buffet owner containing a set of keys to the officer's apartment. Faye tells the officer of the letter, but he delays reading it and asks the buffet to keep it for him. Faye uses the keys to repeatedly enter the man's apartment to clean and redecorate. Gradually, her ploy helps him cheer up. He finds Faye coming to his apartment and realises that she likes him. He arranges a date at a restaurant called the California, which is where they use this clip of California Dreaming. You'll hear this in the clips I share.
我跟她最接近的时候，我们之间的距离只有0.01公分。我对她一无所知。6个钟头之后，她喜欢上另外一个男人。
該個廚師沙律啦，
冰酒定喺度食㗎？
冰酒㗎，你新嚟㗎？未見過你嘅
？Faye does not arrive, and the buffet owner, her cousin, goes to the restaurant to tell him that Faye has left the US state of California. The US state of California. She leaves him a boarding pass drawn on a pattern paper napkin dated 1 year later. Faye, now a flight attendant, returns to Hong Kong. She finds that the officer has bought the buffet and has converted it into a restaurant. He asks her to stay for the grand opening and asks her to send him a postcard if she leaves. As Faye is about to leave, he presents the boarding pass, wrinkled and water-stained, and she writes him a new one. She asks him where he wants the destination to be, to which he replies, "Wherever you take me."
乜係你啊？
係啊，你喺度做咩啊？
裝修啊！
裝修？我表哥咩？
你表哥轉行做卡拉 OK 啊？再要換下口味喎！間鋪整咗俾我㗎，佢冇話你知咩？
冇啊，我冇見過佢啊。
你表哥真係識做生意啊！初初介紹我食炸啲薯條。跟住連間鋪都頂埋俾我。
咩啊？
Now, with this idea of romanticism in this story, which is really, really unusual for the Western, because most Western films were like Sleepless in Seattle, so forth, very over cheesy and mawkish. What is really good about the Chinese love films is they're very symbolic. There's a lot of this idea of taking a chance and so forth. So what I love about these ideas, especially as a hypnotherapist, is there's a lot of people who are struggling in love. They're struggling to find the right person, struggling to find the right person to do things. And what this film does, it kind of gives you this idea of the romanticism of the films of the 50s and 60s, but it's done in the 90s styling. And I think that's what's really important, especially when you're working with people, is that to find their definition of what they want, who they are after, taking chances, taking risks, and actually finding what works for them. So in this film, which I think is a great film for anybody to watch because it is romantic, the cinematography is absolutely beautiful, very clever lighting. In fact, some of it, you look at it, you think, oh, how can this be so dreary? It's like a very mundane sort of existence. But the way they make this illuminated, it's kind of like done in a comic book style in that respect, the stylings of it. But with this, I think it's ideal for couples to watch this, see good ideas, see the idea of how couples can be, how romantic relationships can work, and also this is another thing, is to keep people out of the dating scene of just going on apps and actually going out and meeting people, finding people, meeting people by chance. That is what is missing in the world. So this film, I think, really illustrates that well. And Wong Kar Wai, I think, is probably one of the most underrated directors in the world. Now, probably by critics, he's not, but I feel he's someone who not many people, film schools, they teach you about him, but I'll be honest, when I originally watched this in the 90s, didn't really understand it, and then a friend of mine who is actually from Hong Kong explained the actual elements of it and his work, and I got into his work later on. So I find his works excellent, and this is why I'm going to describe the trilogy as well, which is also, he's very much, his ideas of romantic films are great. Now, his westernised film of romance is called My Blueberry Nights, which I have shared a review on. Unfortunately, that review, though, I couldn't share the clips because of the rights. Unfortunately, some European company owns it. But that is a great film as well. And I think My Blueberry Nights is the Wong Kar Wai stylings, but in a Western format, and it really is a great film. And that was the film that didn't do very well, unfortunately. So Wong Kar Wai also does take some risks because he does these films and hopefully they work out. So why I like him is I think he takes risks. He is incredibly, makes these films very visually stimulating. They are very subtle, and there's a lot of nuances, and the characters are very much more than a one-dimensional. They're very multi-dimensional in their way they act and how they behave, little subtleties, nuances. Also, the characters also could be just they're probably also down as well, so they're not, so it's like they're like superstars, like Hollywood actors we see. They're kind of more normalised, and I think that really works with his films. So the first one I've recommended, Chungking Express, very highly rated. I think it's probably one of the best films, original films of the 90s, and I would highly recommend you watch it. If you are interested in sorting out your romantic life or want to help with this, you feel there's hurdles to find the person you want, please contact me on richclark.net. Also, please message me here on YouTube. I'm also resetting up my Instagram account, TikTok account, and I'm actually going on a new platform which I'll be sharing soon. And this will be where I'll be talking more in depth. The videos of these will be also clipped down as well, so they're probably smaller chunks as well instead of these long form videos. The long form videos will be mainly on YouTube though. Anyway, thank you for listening.